That House, That Age. Chapter 1, Lived in the Past. It had been drizzling from morning. Sumothanath Raichaudhuri, the second son of the famous industrialist and businessman Ramnath Raichaudhuri, became the victim of rains. His warm eagerness to meet someone was upset by it. The rains made him bored and morose, impatient for the time being. When it gave a short respite, after 10, he called Aziz and asked if his father had already gone. Yeah, he took the horse carriage with white pair of horses, driven by Ramesh. I can take you if you order, he offered. The chestnut Velar horses are yet better, he suggestively said, and waited to hear from his master, whose mood he was guessing, remembering his fearful rage at times. Sumotho was readily agreed, and wearing his fanciful kurta and dhoti, he was feeling better. His pair of big moustache was glistening, and his fine perfume was wafting in the air, oozing out of the kurta. He took out the watch from his watch pocket and saw the time. How is the condition of the rains? He asked. Almost stopped, sir. Only clouds are moving round the sky, Aziz answered. Let's go. As he said, Aziz ran with eagerness and energy for the garage, which was at a little distance from the house. He knew Babu's errand and expected good bakshis at its success. The carriage, pulled by two Velar horses, sailed like a canoe from Simla to Bagbazar without any interruption as he rang the bell while passing through the road, even when it wasn't that crowded. Seeing the carriage of the Babu with his name inscribed on the livery of Aziz, the crowd dispersed with respect. Suddenly, Babu Sumotho shouted at Aziz, asking him to stop. He immediately stopped. From the window, Sumotho looked back and waited till Dr. Manmatanath Chatterjee, Dr. M.N. Chatterjee, the famous eye hospital of Kolkata, came near his carriage. They knew each other well. They were almost neighbors. What, Dada, your carriage is going empty and you were walking behind it? Sumotho asked, astonished. Oh, that I do sometimes. While the carriage goes, I do my walking. Both are done at the same time. How are you, Dada? We haven't met for quite some time. I would have come down, but for the shortage of time. Just now I am going for some urgent work, an appointment. Sumotho said, Oh, please carry on. We shall meet again, Manmatha Chatterjee replied, and by a gesture of hand, Aziz was asked to move. The carriage moved faster. It was 10 minutes the carriage reached its destination at Chatterjee House. As he alighted, his familiar face known in the neighborhood, there were chuckles in the air. Babu Sumotho looked askance, but there was none to be found. He entered the house without any more glance. Seeing him from the veranda of the upper floor, Bindu, the maidservant, came down running and led him to the inner quarters of the house. "Be seated, Babu," Bindi said, and ran towards inside the house after Sumoto was comfortably seated in a couch. It took about 10 minutes for Shoroshi to appear with powdered face, dressed in a fine frock, holding the hand of Bindi. Sumoto brought out some nice dolls made in England from the bulging bag. Some were laughing, but their eyes were drooping when laid on bed, and some of the dolls started walking. Shoroshi loved them. She had quite some such dolls now as gifted by Babu, but she could not be reconciled to come closer to him, to be cajoled and caressed. As much as he tried to coax her, she was back, sighed into the folds of Bindi, in fear of getting close to such big face with bigger moustache. Sumoto gave a coin in Bindi's hand and requested to bring her closer. When, on Bindi's tricks and request, she came closer, he caressed her from face to the legs, moving his hands aptly. Seeing such strong hands and big moustache, she almost recoiled. After a while, Bindi said, "Babu, please, leave her today. She is in tears." Sumoto smiled and said, "No, Shoroshi, stop crying. I love you. How can I see you in tears? I shall come another day with bigger dolls." At this, she agreed by nodding, and Babu observed in his satisfaction that she was wearing a faint smile. But instantly she almost vanished with Bindi in a corner. Just at that moment, someone from inside called her, and there were sounds of some footsteps coming down. At this, Babu Sumoto stood on his feet, telling Bindi that he had some important jobs to perform which he forgot, so he couldn't wait any more. Nodding to Bindi and Shoroshi, he came out and boarded the carriage as Aziz was waiting for him, ever ready. While coming back, Sumoto was regurgitating his memory of hobnobbing with his first wife, who died after giving birth to a child who was named Tashi by the mother due to his turbulent nature. She didn't look as good as Shoroshi, who has big eyes and fair complexion and with soft skin radiating light, an apparent beauty personified. Sumoto thought. His wife was obedient, but that wasn't all, he thought again. Something else she didn't have that Shoroshi has. A 23-year-old Sumoto was heir to huge wealth of his hard-laboring industrialist father, sharing some immovable properties only with his elder brother as per the will his father had made. His father willed that Sumoto, as the most important and competent of the two brothers, would be in sole charge of all his business houses, and his elder brother would enjoy some house properties only. Ancestral land and other properties were to be shared by both the brothers. Sumoto's father hoped that his hard-earned money and business would be further increased and industries further developed by his intelligent second surviving son. With an ear about him, Sumoto lulled, a temperament sometimes unbearable, but that was the time when wealth mattered most.